have to change.
Bringing it back.
We got to change that.
Because it do matter.
Yeah, it does matter.
Right?
Everything you do, every vote you make, every vote you don't make, if you decide not to, you're still making a choice. That doesn't mean, just because you decided not to put anything on the ballot doesn't mean you didn't make a choice.
Right.
Rashan Prailow is a young politician from the city of Camden. Now, Rashan wasn't always on track to be a politician. He barely graduated from Woodrow Wilson, and during his first year of college, he dropped out. It was then that he was arrested, and that was a turning point for him. Luckily, his charges were dropped, and then he went on to graduate from the University of Pennsylvania with his bachelor's degree. After graduating, he earned a position as an intern under the Obama administration at the White House. That's right, he went from being arrested to working at the White House. Now he uses his own inspirational story to connect with the kids in the city of Camden and to show them that anything is possible. It's people like Rashan who can really lead the charge to change cities like Camden all across the nation.
All right, so Kyle Ingram, aka the Voodoo Man, out here with my guy Rashan Prailow. I know you worked with in Obama's White House, and now you're running for yourself. I want you to explain to people what you think the power of politics is and why we need young people to be involved in that. Because I mean, I don't think a lot of people in our community, understands what politics really does and what it really means. So what do you think that is?
Man, we need young people involved in politics, and the reason is that young people are the future. We are the future. We keep the engine going. We're the young professionals. We're the bill payers. We're the ones that's, working at crazy hours. We have the most disposable income usually. We don't have families and kids. And most importantly though, politics controls the resources. Oftentimes in our communities, I hear people talk about, man, I'm not worrying about politics. I'm gonna be in business. Business can't operate without politics.
That's right. There you go.
It's like people kind of try to live in this false reality that you can live a regular life and not be engaged with politics.
Right.
It's impossible. Politics is everywhere. It's in your bank account. It's in your bedroom.
It's in your water. Look at Flint. Look at Flint, Michigan.
Look at Flint, Michigan.
Right,
it's in your water.
You drink.
It's in your schools. And what I thought about was, man, how can we, as young leaders, engage our peers, and then move on to engage the kids. As we see these young kids running around, how can we engage them and let them see that politics is an essential part of your life? We should wake up and eat, sleep, think politics, because it is our everyday life.
It affects your everyday life, and that's really what I wanted you to say.
Yeah, we have to change the
I think what we have to do is change the culture around politics, because I don't think people understand how much it affects everything. It affects the music you can listen to. It affects how they rate movies. It affects your entertainment. It affects everything. So I think it's really important that we get people that young people can connect to, because I mean you're from the same age, and you got that cool factor. It's like I was at the White House. So they relate to you. What I mean? So it's important that we have people that like you were saying, because a lot of people get successful, right?
Yes.
And they leave.
Yeah.
What made you? What was it about your situation or your life that made you want to come back to after you made it, after you've touched success, you've had it? What made you say, I want to bring this back to where I'm from?
Because I seen the need. I seen the need for too long, and also, although I was able to get a lot of those experiences and reach some levels of success, I always felt deep down in my heart that Camden made me, that Camden created me, that Camden is the reason why I was able to be granted these opportunities. And it was my obligation. Like, I owed this to the city. This is me paying my debt, me paying it forward. And I truly believe that me coming back is going to allow me to be the best version of myself. I could be anywhere in the world. I was in Washington, D.C. I was all these other places, and I was doing well. But I seen the need here, and I felt like, man, how sweet would it be to go back home and then engage your people from there, and increase civic engagement and let them see that politics is cool. Like, I remember Rashan or Raj, he was a regular dude. Like, we never thought about voting and talked about politics. He really in this thing. I need to see what's going on. And that's what I'm really about. We had about, in my ward alone, I'm in East Camden, Ward 3, we had about 30% of people vote in last year's primary. That was during a mayoral election.
That's super
and to me, that was unacceptable. We're not living in Jim Crow, the South.
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to, the reason I'm doing the whole project is we have to engage more in every aspect of activity in this country. And politics is one of it. I mean, I'm a big, I was talking to your guy, we were talking about economic empowerment.
That's politics.
And that's politics.
Yes, sir.
So I think it's really important that we, like, when we have success, that we come back to where we're from and we tell the people that we grew up with that might not know,
right,
or that are in our circle that, you know, because it's the way media works, the way life works, right? It's like, I know you, so you'll listen to me. If I didn't know you,
right,
like, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, I don't trust him.
Right.
So it's about having that trust. So I think it's important that when we have success, we go back and talk to the people that we grew up with.
Yes, sir.
Which is why it's so valuable that you came back here. Now, I do want to ask you, what do you think the challenges are of coming back to Camden? And what, like, so far in your campaign, what's been like some of your toughest challenges?
I've been received well. I think that the city has been behind me, the entire city, and the East Camden residents have been pouring love into me, supporting me. The biggest challenge I would say has been probably just disengagement.
Right.
The same reason why I came back, and I know that I wasn't gonna be able to change it overnight. Right? Like, we as a community and as in our culture, we just didn't grow up engaged.
Right.
And I didn't grow up engaged, so I'm not coming here with like blindfolds on and thinking that like, oh, these people just don't know no better. It's like, I get it.
Right.
Like, I'm still like you.
Right. You know
but I'm
why.
gonna spend that extra time and talk to you,
Right.
and let you see how this could benefit us all. How this could benefit the community. What I'm doing is a movement for the community. It's not a movement for Rashan Prailow.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's been the biggest challenge is the disengagement, because I've had some folks say, you know, well, I never really voted, you know, I'm not really into that. And I'll press on why.
Right.
And usually it's because they feel like they've been let down, or the people that have been in positions
Or they
of
feel
power.
like it's not going to change. It's not going to matter.
Right.
And that sense of hopelessness is something that we, as this generation, have to change.
Bringing it back.
We got to change
Because
that.
it do matter.
Yeah, it does matter.
Right.
Everything you do, every vote you make, every vote you don't make, if you decide not to, you're still making a choice. That doesn't mean, just because you decided not to put anything on the ballot doesn't mean you didn't make a choice.
Right.
You just remove. Right.
Because if voting didn't matter, then that's like, there would never be a Barack Obama, right? So
Right.
like, it's like,
Well,
you can't have that, you know?
The way I often look at it is like, if voting didn't matter, they wouldn't have tried so hard to stop groups of people from voting. They wouldn't. They wouldn't.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been. You know, they wouldn't. Even now, they're still like gerrymandering. There's so many tactics in how they even draw the district lines. It very much matters when people vote, because that's how this country was designed, and that's why it's important what you always say about having a movement. I would like to, hear you talk more about how you would like to see the movement grow, like what your aspirations are for how it can continue.
Well, going back to that 30% statistic that I shared in terms of the voter turnout in Ward 3 out East Camden, citywide it was around like 21 or something like that. Right. So what I would like this movement to do is to, at least in the next year, we can double that. So we got a little under 50% of our city voting.
Right.
Then there another 10% tacked on. So this is a lifetime movement, because I want us to all become a part of this political process, and that way you'll start to see a snowball effect of other young people running for office, of other young people getting engaged. Camden is really behind the 8 ball. You got millennial mayors popping up all over the country, 23, 24 years old,
And you'd be the youngest.
And I'll be the youngest councilman. I'm not even running for mayor. I'll be the youngest councilman just here in Camden. And at 29, some people still look at that as like, man, you're so young. And I'm like, no, we're just behind. We need young people involved in politics, because that's where the new ideas, the new energy, and the new perspectives come from. So we just need that, and that's what I want this movement to represent. I want other young people to be encouraged and try to run for office in the near future.
Now, speaking about what I do, I work in mostly in entertainment fields. This is a part of my whole media campaign. I think it's important that like the cultural shift. I think that our music, I think that our videos, I think that the content we put out has to adjust. I mean, I never knock anybody for how they live, but I think there needs to be more of an awakening. I was just wondering what you think about, like, what you would like to see culturally in your music, and in your stuff.
Well, I think culturally, if you listen to like some of the new Jay-Z music, even Meek Mill now, and other folks are really, creating this new awakening, among the hip hop community and the black culture in general. That politics is important. Like, look at these laws that's getting in place. Like, we need to wake up. And it's very important that our music and our culture move that direction, because when you're misinformed and you don't know what's going on, and we are disengaged from politics, you got the Kanye West shenanigans. No disrespect, he's a good artist. But when you coming out and you supporting Trump and you're not understanding the policies that some of his appointees are trying to put in place from the DOJ, and I'm trying to give life sentences to drug dealers and different things that Obama was working to, you know, get rid of.
Exactly.
They're trying to bring it back. That's like, you know, political suicide for you to support a person like that that's trying to, you know, basically create a mass genocide toward a selective group of people.
Right.
You know, so that's how.
Especially when that group of people is you.
Yeah, so it's very important for our musicians to start, you know, preaching that in their music as much as possible.
I do see, like, there is an awakening.
Platforms.
But the thing, you know, one of the things that I'm talking about in the music I'm making now is ownership. I think we have to own hip hop because we've been losing it. Like, we've lost every genre of music that we've created.
Yes.
So I think it's really key that, and it's not even just with music. I mean, like, I was talking to your guy before. We were talking about home ownership, the idea of owning your block, the idea of owning businesses. Like, I think that would greatly improve the communities in Camden. Like, there's not, how many black-owned businesses are there out here?
Right.
Not enough.
Not many.
There's not enough. So I think that mindset needs to get into the music, because that's where, you know, like you said, people are disengaged, but they always listen to music.
Yes.
They always go to the, you know, they get their information from YouTube or, you know, so if you have that, like you were, like, if you have a platform, you got to use it to spread the knowledge. All right, so one of the main ideas of my whole project is the concept of voodoo. And like you said, you had a Haitian last name, like, you know, the Haitian Revolution, right? Haitian Revolution started when, you know, they kind of replaced the Catholic beliefs with the voodoo beliefs. Like, the voodoo priests started preaching, you know, less of that turn the other cheek, and they started to have a more knowledge of self, and that kind of sparked the revolution. So I think in this country it's important that we begin to recognize ourselves, recognize our roots, and regain that community, or have some love for ourselves and build that community. It's like, you know, when you say voodoo, people think black magic, they think evil, and like, I don't know, where do you stand on the whole idea of, like, you know, black is bad, and or, you know, different is bad, like, because that's how this country is heading. That's the trend.
It was that way. We started to try to move away from that, and now it's coming back.
It's coming back
at a worse level. I think that we have to be very cognizant of how we label things, right? Like, because, you know, I'm not very well versed in voodoo, but the fact that there's an aura around it, that black magic, or it's bad, it's evil, it's demonic, that translates over to thinking that everything associated with black is demonic, you know, bad. And we tend to see that when you see a black cat, you know, that's bad luck.
Black cat's bad luck.
Or you see, you know, if it's, you know, pitch black outside, you know, we don't even take time to actually value that. You know, right? So it's like the moon and different things like that. So, you know, we have to kind of...
White is always good.
We have to recondition our minds and see the beauty in blackness. You know what I mean? And I think that starts at a very lower level. And it starts with that inner peace and that inner knowledge of self.
And that's what I'm saying, the inner knowledge of self. Because, I mean, if you ever do, voodoo starts from Voodoo, which comes from West Africa, which is where most of the slaves were taken. That's where most of our people were taken from, and that was so that's the origin of it. It has no roots in anything evil, but I just think it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
It's really crazy because that's been created, right?
Right. It's that whole myth is created that it's somehow messed up or wrong or associated with zombies and all of that stuff comes from black people, black stuff. It's just crazy how that myth is perpetuated, and I just want to, you know, hear what you had to think about that.
Black is beautiful, baby.
So let's talk about, you know, where you're from, some of your past experiences, and how you got involved in politics in the first place. Because, I mean, I know you from, you know, my uncle, my cousin Keith Benson, and working with him. So, I mean, I know your backstory. I want you to tell them a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, man, it's been a journey, man. I'm from East Camden. Right now, we're in front of Davis Elementary School. I graduated from here. From here, I went to East Camden Middle School. Then I went to Woodrow Wilson. So I'm an East Camden kid, you know, through and through. Attended public schools here. And when, you know, you think about me, you know, I think I represent, you know, the best and the worst of Camden, right? Just to put my life in a nutshell. When I got to Woodrow Wilson High School, you know, I became a victim of my environment, you know, growing up in a single-parent home, you know, dealing with some of the frustrations and issues that occur in a low-income environment. You know, I became, you know, a young man who didn't value education. You know, I became, you know, involved in street activity and different things like that. And I basically just coasted through high school. You know, I didn't tap into my intellectual ability like most of our young kids don't. And I left high school with a 1.1 GPA and 97 unexcused latenesses and absences just my senior year alone. You know, so I was just a wreck waiting to happen. You know, I was able to graduate, receive my diploma, you know, got my diploma in June 2007. Still with no plan and still, you know, one foot into the, you know, underworld and still just trying to figure out this thing of life. You know, June 29th, 2009, man, my life changed forever. You know, 9 days after Barack Obama assumed office as the first black president of the United States of America, and 8 days after my 20th birthday, I was sent to the Camden County Jail. I was arrested right in East Camden on Pfeiffer Street. And I spent almost 3 weeks in the county jail, you know, among everyone from every walk of life. But the only thing that kept sticking out to me as a young 20-year-old man is that everyone in there looked like me. You know, and it became very uncomfortable for me that I seen a bunch of men that looked like me comfortable in a controlled, confined setting, you know, treated like an animal. You know, and it was a weird experience I had. You know, I was in a cell with a man that was twice my age, and we spoke with each other for about 2 days. He asked a few questions, I was asking him questions, and it came to be that he was my father's childhood friend. So we sitting here, you know, generations of young men of color, you know, in jail cells, and this guy gave me some great advice, man, and he told me when he was 20 years old, that was also his first time being incarcerated, but he didn't get out until he was 31. He said he didn't want my life to turn out that way. He said, man, if you get a chance to get out of here, young man, you know, go show these young brothers that this ain't the life for us. You know, do something better with yourself. You know, show them what a real man's supposed to live like. So I left the county jail, you know, still confused because I had these charges hanging over my head. I had 5 felony offenses I was facing. You know, through the grace of God, I was acquitted of each charge, you know, and moved on with my life, man. I knew that God was giving me a second chance for a reason, you know, that I was able to, you know, maneuver past that statistic label that is put on us, you know, once convicted of a crime. And I re-engaged with my academic career, you know, through mentors such as Keith Benson and other people who poured into me. I started right back at Camden County College in Camden, you know, and locked in. I was 21 years old, laser focused, man. And since that day, I stand here as a 29-year-old man now. Since that day, as a 21-year-old young man, when I started back at Camden County, I've been laser focused on just creating a path, not only for myself, but for my people, to show our young men, man, that you can be more, you know, than a rapper, than a ball player, or be a victim of the streets. You know, and from Camden County, I had an amazing experience to get accepted into one of the 8 Ivy League universities in the world, the best Ivy League, the University of Pennsylvania, right here in West Philadelphia. You know, and that experience changed my life forever. You know, I was among some of the most elite in the world, and I got to really see a different side of life. Now, I went there when I was 24 years old, so I was an older student. You know, so it was a little weird for me because I was insecure, right? I'm going among a group of 18-year-olds, and you know, they're talking about things that are above my head, you know, just based off of the lifestyle that they lived compared to mine. You know, and I seen some of the benefits of living in a privileged society, you know, and I took advantage of it. You know, I was able to go to the White House, you know, in 2015 as an intern in the Office of Management and Budget to work for Barack Obama. You know, I also moved on and became hired, you know, in the Presidential Personnel Office. And that experience really ignited my political career because I knew, man, that if I could do it, anybody can do it. But I also knew that politics was the vehicle that can change our communities. We have enough millionaires. We have enough sports athletes that have changed the world, but still our communities are in distress. And as I kept thinking back, the only 2 things that helped catapult my life was education and politics. And I feel like us as a community didn't pay enough attention to it. So while at the White House, you know, I had the experience of, you know, talking to people, meeting people from every walk of life, telling them my story, and they bought in. You know, they really believed in what I represented. And Camden was always at the forefront. You know, I represented Camden every step. You know, so I moved on, you know, while I was in the White House talking, coming back to Camden, speaking to the students and mentoring. And when I left the White House, I said, you know what? This is the life for me. You know, I want to be involved with my community because so many of us, you know, become successful and make it out and we just become a good story. And we go and live the great life, but our community loses touch with us. And I said, while I'm young, I'm 29, the time is now to come back and get involved, you know. So January 2017, as you all know, Barack Obama's second term concluded, and I left the White House. I stayed in D.C. for some time, but I came back home. I could have went anywhere in the world, but I came back here because I know the time is now for some new, fresh energy and for our city and our community to wake up and understand how important politics is. A young guy that ran these same streets, you know, that failed out of school, turned his life around, and now he's coming back to serve. Because politics is not about, you know, people getting in position to get money. It's really about servanthood. And I want to reintroduce that to people. I'm out here walking the streets, knocking doors, talking to people, listening to concerns, and just trying to give them everything that they need.
Voodoo.